Welcome to Self-Dev. There is only one truth. We are two odd-aged punk rockers. Me, Tommy, a Taoist and seeker, and some other guy. He's a professional development coach and creator of the world's first self-help virtual coaching program. My mentor, Tony, that bastard. This podcast is about success, spirituality, and bettering the self. That's the best way to change the world. And with continued listening, that's what you will do.
We're back,
Hello.
Thomasino.
How you doing, bro?
Doing good, but I got a question for you.
Yep.
Who the hell do you think you are?
What?
Who do you think you are?
How can I respond to that?
Yeah, you're damn right. You ever get angry at somebody because they've done something and you want to say to them, or you say to them, who do you think you are? With this idea that whatever they've done, they shouldn't have done because there should have been somebody else who wouldn't do such a thing. That's the idea we come at it. But it has, but the funny part about saying something like that to someone is that it has absolutely no potency whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, we say it because we have this feeling and we want to gain superiority in the confrontation or the upper hand or a moral vantage point, but it has no teeth whatsoever, because however they respond, it still is meaningless because they did what they did no matter what, and if they say give you an answer that is accurate or inaccurate, it doesn't matter. If they give you an answer that is wrong or correct or to your liking, it doesn't matter because they did the thing. That's why you're saying it. You say it because they did the thing. And I mean, yes, if they're humble and they want to self-improve, then yeah, they can atone for the behavior and become a person that doesn't do that thing. But the answer that they can give when you in that, not necessarily in the heat of the moment, but when in the confrontation about who they are, especially when you add a curse in there, who the fuck you think you are? It's meaningless. It has nothing. It has there's nothing you can gain from it, even though you said it because you wanted to gain something. But it's shooting a bullet that's a blank. So listen, if you're a regular listener or viewer, you know that we start off the podcast usually with some psychological jab that is often humorous, but not necessarily. Here I'm giving the example of a psychological jab that doesn't have any potency. So right. don't use this one because it won't serve you at all.
It's actually a rhetorical question.
It is rhetorical. It won't gain you any upper hand, no matter what they say. And matter of fact, you'll probably even get more angry no matter what they say, because no answer is going to satisfy you, right? If they say that they're the person who acted in such a way, that's going to make you mad because that's the very behavior that made you mad in the first place. Or if they say that they're not such a person to act in that way, it's a denial, and that's not going to make you happy either. So it comes, not only is it impotent, it's a self jab, it's a self kick, because you're not going to get any. Not only will you not get any superiority from it or attraction, it can come back on you like a boomerang and get more angry if the person is in denial. So stay away from this so-called jab. Who the heck do you think you are? And a person operates in the world by a thing called the ego. Now, an ego is typically misunderstood, but a very simple explanation for the ego is just self-identity or self-concept. It is who you think you are. Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Not just your name, but what do you believe in? What do you disbelieve? What do you think you come from? What's your opinion on things? What you think your strengths are and your weaknesses are. These are, and what you want to accomplish. But that may have to do more with the soul, depending on how you are looking at the thing. But
Mhm.
this is about the self-concept. So, so the ego it's often used pejoratively. Oh, he's got an ego. Oh, I hope so, because if either that, if he didn't, then it would be like having a lobotomy. A lobotomy is what happens when you lose your ego.
I've got a great I've got a great breakdown of the ego right here.
Please.
And it's yeah. All ego really is our opinions, which we take to be solid, real, and the absolute truth about how things are. To have even a few seconds of doubt about the solidity and absolute truth of our own opinions, just to begin to see that we don't have opinions, introduces us to the possibility of egolessness.
Wow,
That's a look.
that is a
Yeah.
great statement. What does the author mean by we don't have opinions? What does he mean by that, or she mean
Let's
by
see.
that? That is interesting. I
Just
think
to
the
begin.
ego, when we have this self concept, this self identity, that entitles us to some idea or some conception about something. Okay, which
Mhm.
is another word for opinion.
Right.
So
I
I
I
don't.
maybe I read it wrong. Is that you might be referring to? I wrote just to begin to see that we do have opinions, introduces us to the possibility of egolessness. Maybe I had said don't have opinions. Maybe I read it wrong.
Read,
Well,
read it. Read it again. Read it again with
I'll
more
read the
care.
whole. Opinions are opinions, nothing more or less. We can begin to notice them and we can begin to label them as opinions, just as we label thoughts as thoughts. Just let this simply, just by this simple exercise, excuse me, we are introduced to the notion of egolessness. All ego really is our opinions, which we take to be solid, real, and the absolute truth about how things are. To have even a few seconds of doubt about the solidity and absolute truth of our opinions, just to begin to see that we do have opinions, introduces us to the possibility of egolessness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You did much better job the time around. Very good. That was
Mhm.
that was clear and
Yeah.
unambiguous. Very good. And one of my sayings is opinions are like buttholes. I love to
Yeah.
penetrate them.
Ah,
I mean,
ah.
I like to influence them, something like
Well,
that.
everyone has one.
Yes, and you and I had discussed this at length.
Yeah.
But you just read from a book. That's a great book. What's that book?
Yeah, this book is called When Things Fall Apart, A Heart Advice for Difficult Times by a Buddhist monk named Pema Chodron. She's from the Mahayana tradition. She's a renowned author and
Great.
nun. Yeah,
It
she's very
is.
great.
Oh, and a nun too. That is a
Yeah.
great stuff. And the ego, which when we talk about the ego, about the self concept, and about and get into some more detail as that author did, it's wonderful. But as you self develop, as you evolve, as you walk the path of enlightenment, you come to understand that there probably is really no ego at all, and it's just an illusion that was needed to participate in this thing. Okay.
Absolutely.
And it's a necessary thing. It's not an option. It's not
Yep.
optional. It is necessary. It's like you can't play the game without being in the
Without the
game,
ego.
right? But once you're in the game, and you start really learning and evolving, you start to understand that. And this is still concept for me, but I more and more I see the truth of it, that it was just a concept that I created in order to play the game. To use the term play, or be in the game, or to participate in this thing that God has put us in. And I say that with no religiosity whatsoever. So that for a purpose. And what I believe the purpose is to evolve, not for the ego's evolution, but for the soul's evolution. Because to me, I don't see what sense the ego has. What sense is there for an ego evolution? Even though I think that happens, but that is a reflection of it's a reflection of the soul's evolution. And it's something I don't understand myself, because I think that the soul may be permanent, which is only an idea. So how can the soul evolve? Well, I think that's the thing. I haven't understood it yet, but that's what makes sense to me, because if the ego is just a creation, an illusion, then what need is there of it to evolve? There is none. But
Yeah.
so that leaves the soul, the spirit. All right. So, but if the soul or spirit is permanent, then why would it need to evolve? I believe it does. There is something, I just don't understand it, and I don't pretend to understand it, but it seems to make sense to me, and for me to look at it without hurting my head. That I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That the soul is here because of some deal with God, okay, which is God, the universal intelligence, the collective oneness, where, okay, soul, the soul that inhabits the body of Tony Petroza here. You're here for a purpose. Get to your purpose. The sooner you accomplish your purpose, the less fucking around you have to do with other lifetimes or whatever else. And you can get to the next level or place, wherever that is.
Yeah.
And that all, by the way, occurs really instantly, because time, a past, present, and future is a human invention, a human situation, so that we can experience this thing and have this experience, because really there is no such thing as time. It doesn't really, it's a human necessity, but it's not really, really true. It's not objective. It's something that's subjective. Indeed, we talk about time. I'm 55 years old. You're how old? 15, Tommy?
Yeah, I just turned 12, actually.
Ah, wow, yeah, you're more precocious than I'm sorry, I underestimated you. So
Yeah.
how old are you?
I am 38.
38. So we're a little bit, I'm a middle-aged person. You're a little, you're a little bit younger. Now think about a teenager who is just 15 years old. And isn't it funny when you're a teenager, especially American teenager? No doubt it's universal, but does anyone in the world know more than a teenager?
Right.
A teenager is the most knowledgeable. What is the definition of a teenager? The most knowledgeable person on the planet.
Yeah.
Right? To be a teenager, to know everything and be confused by everything, especially your feelings, emotions, and especially your sexual part of it, right? And to know and to pretend everything's old hat to you. Oh yeah, it's old hat. Yeah. It's such a difficult experience that they have to go through all this pretense. Talk about ego.
I would like to insert real quick that the ego is
get me out of this.
is a necessary necessary construct for us to evolve. It is like you said, it's the stepping stone for our evolution. I mean, how else could we interact with this world and do or accumulate good or negative karma without having an ego? So it's definitely the necessary.
And it's not something that's purely for shedding either. When you want to achieve a goal, whatever it is, there are two sides of this desire. There is the ego side and there's the soul side. The ego side, and these aren't necessarily base reasons or selfish reasons, but they're just less spiritual. Okay, they're less spiritual. They're more grounded in the human experience, and less in the more altruistic. That not if that's too much, contributing to the world in a way that improves the world and improves the lives of others, in a way that's not looking for a reward. And don't get me wrong, looking for a reward is fine, but that's the ego side. The soul side is not looking for the reward. If I want to ease suffering, the ego side, wants some compensation.
Accolades.
So
Yeah.
it could be accolades, compensation,
Yeah.
recognition, you said, or the soul side just wants
Yeah.
to ease the suffering because it wants to, it sympathizes and empathizes with others. Both
Well,
both motives for the same exact behavior. Okay. See,
yeah.
so they're
Like,
both maybe it's a yin and yang. Maybe
yeah.
they're both necessary. Maybe if I just want to alleviate your suffering just because for that own fact, maybe that's not enough for me to actually do it. Maybe I need more of that ego push, that maybe desire for recognition, say, to do it. So there you go. That so now it's like you get into not just the concept of the ego, but the necessity of it. It's necessary. All right. But it's,
I know in the Vedic tradition, they say that the devotees say that they engage in the world in the service of the Lord, and they don't reap the benefits and the fruits of their actions. They do it for, well, in that particular religion, for Krishna, for Govinda, whatever god is in the Hindu realm that they worship, and it's it's really egoless work. They're not doing it for.
Let me point something out though. Okay, yes, I concur that the egoless. There's a perhaps the biggest component of that is the soul side, but there's another side of it which is very ego. If I want to do it for the sake of the religion, that's ego.
Okay? That is,
only an ego embraces religion. A soul does not embrace religion.
You're right.
Okay. Oh, look, my Hindu religion is the right one, you stupid Christian. You see what I'm saying? I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
But you see that that's what the ego does. And it's not bad. It's
not bad. Yeah.
Explanation. It's a necessity. It's a yin and yang. It's a two sides of a coin. A coin has, well, three sides if you want to get technical, but without getting technical, there's two sides to a coin, right? You can't exist just with the one side. There's the other side. It's necessary.
I wouldn't even call a materialist's ego bad, as long as it's like, they're doing it for unspiritual reasons and they're doing it for themselves, but as long as they're not hurting anyone, then it's not necessarily bad. But they're not going to be enlightened through their activities. They're not going to be, they're not going to reach that next level of transcendental involvement.
As long as the soul side is present in the motivation, there will be evolution. Not as much evolution if it was more of the factor. Again, if the ego side is present in the evolution, but it's not the thing that evolves. It's the soul side. When the more we are cognizant and aware of the soul and let that part flourish and become more and more dominant, the more the ego side will fall away. Right?
You're right.
Right.
It's a great point.
So you want them both, but but ego's not bad. Now, what is, even though it's often used that way as a pejorative, oh, he's got an ego, or maybe they'll say a big ego, which is more understood. Okay, but the ego, I've established the necessity of it, the psychological part, and the necessity of it, as we've established it. I think we've done a good job of it. Good job, Tommy. And now, but I'm going to get into a model that I established even before I really got into psychology, because it became evident to me. And it was one of the, I've had an inclination for psychology for a long time. I guess about 30 years. I'm 50, like I said, 55. So this is my favorite subject for a long time. And along the way, before I even started studying it, and before I became a practitioner of NLP and a life coach and all that, it occurred to me that there's more to this thing that we call an ego, that there's a lot of subscription to by people, and it's a thing that I call the false ego. Okay, now if the ego is this self-image or the self-identity, the false ego is an identity that is not the self. Okay. So, sounds like a, a paradox, and it is. Life is very paradoxical, mofo's. Irony is irony is a cornerstone of life, and that is, and this pseudo identity is where a person has an endeavor for it's a means to an end, but it's an end that is a loop. Okay, so it's a loop. It's it is futile, and it is not well thought out because the end is a loop. Right, and that's
Yeah.
the false ego. The false ego. Now, if I have my concept of myself, which is Tony Petroza, right? Now, I have, these are my strengths and my weaknesses. And when I'm humble, the more humble I am about who I am, my strengths and weaknesses and what I have done, and saying that with accuracy and honesty, and with less embellishment, especially less falsity or falsehoods, the more I will evolve. Okay, the more I will understand myself and reality at the same time. And that's my self-concept. But what about this false ego? Okay, this false self-concept. That's where it's not about I think I'm this and I think I'm that. The things that I'm not, like I think I'm like a great entrepreneur when I really I've only done my history as an entrepreneur shows that I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm not that great. Okay, however you want to gauge that greatness. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that is not specific, but very general. And that is the idea of what you want from a person regarding your identity, no matter who it is. And that is praise. Okay. I want to be praised. Now, I ask you, Tommy, what does the desire to be praised, which is a very common thing, have to do with my self-identity, about who I am as Tony Petroza, with my strengths and weaknesses, with my background, with my aspirations? What does it have to do?
With you particularly, or
With,
most people?
with everyone.
Most people. Well, it gives a person a sense of validation that they're doing the right thing, that they're
But what's
on the
that got?
right path.
But what's that got to do with the self identity? I agree with you, but
Yeah.
that's a delusion. I agree with you, but because the self identity is the self identity, it stands alone per se. It doesn't need any corroboration from you.
Right.
I have my identity. I don't need you to tell me, oh, Tony, yes, you're you. I'm already me. I'm already
Well,
me. I don't need you or anyone else to tell me who I am. But if I'm looking for praise now,
yeah.
now we're getting into a part about me
The
that
false
is not
ego.
even about me, because I am who I am, independent of everybody and everybody. But if
Right.
I'm looking for praise from you, if I want you to think that I'm great, that's not my self identity. That's the false ego, because
Yeah.
I am who I am, self concept, self identity. When I want you or anybody else in the world to think I'm great, now I'm not subscribing to my ego, who is who I am. All right, I've done this, I've done that. This is what I want to do. This is my my competencies. Uh, Now the false ego is I just want you to praise me. I just want you to think I'm great.
Yeah.
Now that's
At,
what the
at a particular thing too, mostly. You know.
it could be anything. It could be anything at
Yeah.
all. And it's this and what is it? What's the motivation for this desire for praise? It is that I want you to praise my ego. Okay. But the ego, in truth, the self concept, is absolutely needless of praise. What need is there a self identity of praise? There is none whatsoever. So if I want you to praise this self identity, that's because I'm subscribing to a false ego, that this identity needs praise, when in truth, it needs absolutely no praise whatsoever. It doesn't even need acknowledgement from you. Though that said, acknowledgement is the most basic human need. It is the primary need we have, is acknowledgement. And so I'm not condemning that in the slightest, but I'm saying that praise and acknowledgement and praise are two very different things. You know, for example, if I did a good job with something, all right, I don't even need you to acknowledge. That's nice that you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But is it necessary? No.
No. No.
It's not necessary. Even if I'm the kind of person who needs more external feedback rather than my own internal dialogue or monologue, it's still not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this idea that you think that I'm great. That's the false ego. Why my self-identity shouldn't or doesn't really have a need for that? Now, it may be that it may be my self-identity that I'm a fragile person. Okay, that's fine. Or okay, I'm a fragile person and I need a lot of care and sensitivity. That's fine. And that may be my self-image. So what? That's still, does that need your praise? No. Okay, I'm fragile. I'm fragile. I'm sensitive. Okay, great. That's who I am. Do I need your praise for that? No, that's just who I am.
Yeah.
All right. Your praise is wanted. Give me your praise. But you don't get, if you don't give it to me, am I still going to be fragile and sensitive? Yes, because that's who I am. Now, what happens when the false ego cannot get the praise? These statements of greatness and accolades. What happens? What does it do? It does the other thing, which a lot of people don't. This is even more lesser known.
It bottoms out.
Goes the other direction. This is even lesser known than the first part. This is where if I can't get you to say that I'm great, I'll go the other way. I'll get you to say that you're sorry for me. Aren't you sorry for me, Tommy?
Ooh, it's an interesting point. Almost like a victimhood.
Exactly. And that's and that's how you can always recognize the false ego. If it can't get praise, it goes the other way. It wants sympathy. It wants sympathy. And and it's the same exact facts. What is my self-identity got to do with your sympathy? Nothing. Okay. And don't get me wrong. Again, having sympathy for those who are suffering, you should have. Absolutely.
Very noble.
But also, what do people who really embrace the victim mentality, or people who want to manipulate you? What's the most common tact of those people? Eliciting your sympathy, right? That's what they do. That's like manipulation 101. Victimhood 101 is get the sympathy of people so they can prop up your victimhood or reinforce your victimhood. Or if you're just a manipulator without the victimization, then you can just get them to do stuff because they feel sorry for you, right?
Especially nowadays. #support me.
Whatever. This existed way before social media. This is just this is the human condition, where this false identity wants either praise or sympathy from someone, so they can. Why? It's just so because they think that their identity needs it, when the truth is it doesn't need it at all. If someone is sick or suffering, you should comfort them. You should help them, because that's just the way to be. That's the right way to be. And should you even have sympathy for them? Yeah, but be leery, because a lot of people will seek your sympathy who aren't truly sick or suffering, or maybe actually make themselves sick or suffering so they can get your sympathy. Okay, because that's the psychological thing that they've created for themselves, and it is a sickness, because it's not real. It's not their true self-identity. It's them subscribing to this false ego, where they can get you to do something because with the solicitation or of sympathy or praise from you, or in that exchange, here's my behavior or my presentation, okay, and the exchange, there's my cause, and your effect is you give me sympathy or praise, whichever I can get. That's what the false ego wants, which is this non-entity which thinks it's alive when it's really not. It's like the phantom. It's a phantom. It's like the ghost, the thing that should not be. The false ego doesn't exist because you already have a self-identity. All right, you already
they have a spiritual poverty where they don't even realize that on a soul level they have everything they need. They already are complete as a soul.
Perfect and most excellent and perfect point, my comrade. Use a perfect ending to this topic. And why do I even bring up this thing about the false ego? Just to talk about this psychology stuff? No. Once you have awareness, once you have things in consciousness, then you can grow them. And I've just done that with you, the listener and viewer, about the ego and the false ego. Okay. Now, what can you do with that? Well, seek to shed yourself of the false ego. All right. Yeah. Which is to say, reduce and stop desiring sympathy and praise from people, because it's not serving you. It's a misconception on your part that it serves you. It does not serve you. It's you wallowing in the mud like a pig. Okay. Yeah. There's no growth for you there. It's just for you to wallow like a pig in a pen. Once you get out of the pen, you can wash yourself off and then just embrace your ego. Shed yourself of the false ego. Stop soliciting things from people for something that you're not even your false ego. You're probably not even your ego, but you got to get rid of the false ego first before you can start getting rid of the ego. Okay.
And you could counter that by being of service to others.
Absolutely.
Take your strength and then go help other people.
Well, absolutely. That's always, but as an MO, all right. Stop soliciting praise and sympathy from people. When the less you do that, especially if you stop doing that completely, the more you can focus on your own growth, and that has more to do with the desires of your ego. I mean the desires of your soul that your ego will help you achieve.
Yes.
Okay. Your ego will help you achieve the desires of your soul. And the more you're on this road of success, this road of achievement, the more what's going to happen is
say it. Yep.
I'm really touched by it. The more you'll find that you're on a road and a path of enlightenment. The road to success will become the path of enlightenment. Man, I'm really affected right now, and it's
because we're so entangled in the material world and in the news and the social media. It's just that we're beautiful spiritual beings having a human experience, and if we could just see that every day and recognize it, we could be joyous, happy, and free.
Awesome. So that was great stuff, man. That was a great discussion. Now we'll go into Tony's Corner with the daily reading. I'll go into the box, right? If you can see the box, it's the Achieve Your Dreams box.
That's right.
Pull out a paper passage, and it's a nice picture of sunset.
You got
on an
yeah.
island.
Oh,
really
I know that one.
Okay, and the passage it's from Daniel Burnham. And he said, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir the blood." Ooh, I love it. And that's Daniel Burnham. Make no little plans. Oh, man. You know, I love the saying, shoot for the stars. If you miss, you can hit the moon. Right? So I'm a coach, right? Personal development coach. And when I say the primary thing I did as a life coach and as a PDC is to help people with their goals. They usually come to me, already with the goal, but sometimes I got to help them flesh it out. And I say to them that, it should be a balance of something that seems unobtainable to something that's easily and realistic. Because the more realistic it is, or the more easy it is, the more probable you can achieve it. Awesome. But it probably won't excite you that much. The stuff that's unobtainable, that'll excite you more, especially once you start making progress towards it. Then you'll really start getting the excitement. Before you start making progress, it'll be more in the realm of fantasy, and the excitement will be at bay until you start acting and still you start making progress. Then you'll start feeling the excitement. So you want to do both. But I am in absolutely no disagreement to Mr. Burnham. What did he say again? He said, make no little plans. They have no magic to stir the blood. And you want to get your blood stirred. You want to get excited about life, because life is too fucking short to do little things and to do nothing. You've got to, make the change that you want to see in the world. That's gonna, whatever you've got to figure out what your purpose is, who you are. And once you do that, you can much easily do this. Or you can do it the other way. You can do it either way. You can see, go for the change, and then who you are will crystallize. But either way, get going, because life's too short to die with regrets. The most common regret that old people have when polled is that it's not the actions that they took, it's the inactions that they didn't take.
Right.
All right. And so don't go to the grave full of regret that you didn't do this and you didn't do that. Take the chance and go for something big. Go for something big, because that's going to excite you the most. That's going to make stop your breath the most. And that's going to make the biggest difference in the world.
It's better to regret something you did than something you didn't do.
Absolutely. Okay. And that's it. And now, as is my custom, I'm going to burn it. Burn the paper passage. It says in the back of the leg, communication and persuasion. And symbolically, and burn it into your mind.
Right.
Mr. Burnham. Put it into my tin. The old Lipton tin, probably like 40, 50 years old. Very cool. Okay, great. Nice. And that's the end of Tony's Corner. That was great. I thought also very pertinent, talking about the ego. The ego is self-identity. It's not about, if you want to do great things, that's and you truly want to do it, that's part of your self-identity.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to read real quick from this book again. And I think it's important. I was going to start from the beginning, but I'm actually going to go to this chapter that is about opinions, because I think it ties in tremendously with what we've been talking about how people are holding on to their opinions and they are closed-minded. We've been talking so much about this, and I'm just going to read this real quick before I go into the Tao Ta Ching. It says, when we hold on to our opinions with aggression, no matter how valid our cause, we are simply adding more aggression to the planet, and violence and pain increase. Cultivating non-aggression is cultivating peace. So that's the Buddhist incorporation from the Pema Chodron book, When Things Fall Apart, which I'm going to start from the beginning again and read just that little, it's a synopsis of the chapters, which are summed up greatly. And the material is amazing. Got anything to say on that?
Well, I totally concur. Aggressiveness is not only indicative of something that's missing, but it is the least persuasive thing, though it can be highly persuasive. On one hand, it can be the most persuasive thing imaginable. On one hand, on the other hand, it's the least persuasive thing, because ideas, when they're really good, will persuade. Or if a person is very profound, either in connection or who you sense them to be, they'll be persuasive. But if a person can't be persuaded through ideas, then aggressiveness or violence can be very persuasive to them. But it probably won't change their ideas. It'll get them to change their behavior, but not their ideas, because they'll still maintain that. So aggressiveness or aggression, that is, it can sometimes it's quite warranted. Self-defense. I'm a great proponent in self-defense. And hey, I contend that is actually the primary right of every organism is to defend itself. For what? Mm-hmm. Well, for its primary instinct, which is to survive. That's the primary. Whether I got that in common with an amoeba. Okay, a mitochondria, a single-celled organism, and I have the same exact primary instinct, which is to survive. All right, and we will defend ourselves just for the instinct, the primary instinct. So I will always condone self-defense, but not aggression. Aggression is lower. It's a low vibration.
It's a base. Man. It's a base vibration that I also think can contribute to resentment and bad blood down the line. And it's almost like, and like I say, and I guess it's kind of eye for an eye mentality, especially when you're talking about nations and certain groups within countries.
Getting to an individual level, and sans violence, say aggression without violence. Okay, and there's plenty of that. People are hostile. People are aggressive. What about that? That's much more accessible and real to people. Well, you're going to act that way through a misunderstanding. All right, because you're not understanding things clearly or accurately. If you did understand that, you would see that there's not only a call for aggression. It would be, if it's counterproductive. You're not going to get what you want. Again, you may change a behavior, but you're not going to change an idea. All right. And the person, like this, the old saying about arguments. If you win an argument, you might win the argument, but is the person's mind changed? No, they're going to have the same idea. You've got to be persuasive, which is to change their mind through other means that are not forceful, right?
Yes.
That a person, because it comes to your point of view because of your tact and finesse and your soundness, all right? And so be sound, all right? Then you won't need aggression.
It also echoes back to one of the Martin Scorsese movies. I'm not sure which one it was. Could have been any of them, where it goes, "Is it better to be feared or respected?"
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I want both. Big time.
Yeah.
Another great podcast. By the way, I don't know.
Hey, I got one more thing to get into here.
Please.
And it's the Tao. It's passage 17. And
yes, I'm sorry about that. Yes, how could I? I'm sorry. Okay, yes, 7-17, please.
The supreme rulers are hardly known by their subjects. The lesser are loved and praised. The even lesser are feared. The least are despised. Those who show no trust will not be trusted. Those who are quiet value the words. When their task is completed, people will say, "We did it ourselves." That was a tough one.
I love that part. Those who don't show trust will not be trusted. Boy, the whole thing was great. That is so true. If you want, you've got to go first, which is have the feelings first, have the behavior first. If you want to be trusted, you've got to trust others, and talk about the hierarchy of respect there. Boy, that was wonderful. Excellent point. Tao Ta Ching number 17. Great stuff. And the mystery object, by the way, is still here with me. I'm not going to say what it is. It's present. It's present. I love it. I love how it appears and reappears on its own volition. Okay, Tommy, I love you, bro.
Yeah. I love you too, brother.
I love you. Great stuff, man. Another one in the can.
That's it.
Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe, like, and share this with like-minded people. Stick with us. We will continue to improve and persist. You can do it with us.